All right, thank you everybody for joining us. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Think About Your Thinking, Understanding the Ladder of Inference. We have a very short time together this morning, so we won't be answering questions, but if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them using the questions box in the control panel, and we'll address those questions in our follow-up blog post. Also, as a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent out to all registrants within the next few days. So here at the Wisconsin School of Business Center for Professional and Executive Development, we partner with individuals and organizations to enhance performance and productivity through professional development programs, certificates, coaching, consulting, and assessments. More than 70 programs are delivered annually on-site at the Fluno Center by instructors with practical, real-world experience. We also partner with a variety of organizations to provide customized on-site training. For more information, please visit our website at uwcped.org. And with that, I want to turn it over to today's presenter, Helen Browson. Helen?
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to have you all here. We're doing this from sunny, well, sort of sunny Madison, Wisconsin. And I'm really excited to talk to you about the Ladder of Inference today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Have you ever reacted too quickly to a situation and jumped to conclusions only to discover you were way off? Susan was in a project team meeting and discovered a major decision was made about a step in a strategic initiative that her team was involved in. The decision was to delay a key milestone by 6 months. Everyone seemed to know about it except Susan. She immediately felt out of the loop and assumed the team doesn't think she is important enough on this project to keep her informed. She developed the belief that the team underestimates her and decided to sit silently in the meeting, not contributing to the planning or the discussion. As you can imagine, at the very least, this created conflict and damaged the level of trust within the team. I'm so sorry about that. Apparently I wasn't sharing my slides. But as you can imagine, at the very least, this created conflict and damaged the level of trust within the team. In today's fast-moving world, we are always under pressure to act quickly, rather than thinking about what's really going on and taking time to sort out the details. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Let's see if I can get this back on track. Here we go. All right. So let's imagine that you and your coworker are having these thoughts about each other. He doesn't think my team's work is important. She is ultra protective of her team. He is so risk adverse. She thinks her project should take precedence. He will say anything to look good in front of the boss. She hates conflict. You probably don't need to imagine this kind of thinking because it's really not that unusual. In fact, it's happening more than any of us would like to acknowledge. As human beings, jumping to conclusions and making assumptions is really quite normal. But if they're wrong, it can be unproductive and gets in the way of progress and collaboration. Unfortunately, when we allow ourselves to create a story or a narrative around our assumptions, it creates a whole host of issues. We all experience this thinking pattern multiple times a day, every day. According to Dr. Joseph Dispenza, the brain processes 4 billion bits of information a second, but we're only aware of 2,000 of those. The average clock speed of neurons in the brain is a mere 200 firings per second. So let's think about the number of decisions we make in a day. It's innumerable. Some, such as which fork to use from the drawer, are inconsequential. Others, such as which way should I go to work, or how much we prepare for a meeting, may have consequences. And then there are some, whether to trust someone's judgment on a big decision or making sure you're solving the right problem, can ultimately define your organization. And more importantly, your company culture if this kind of thinking isn't addressed broadly. To help us manage all the data coming in, we create shortcuts using our past experiences to process our thinking. Often, errors occur when we don't use fact-based information and have a lack of mutual understanding. This results in suboptimal decisions that impacts our teams, creates a lack of trust, and promotes conflict. This thinking process is described as the ladder of inference. Usually, without realizing it, we go through this thinking process to get from a fact to a decision or action. The thinking stages can be seen as rungs on a ladder. The ladder of inference was first put forward by organizational psychologist Chris Argyris and popularized by Peter Zhang in the 5th discipline, the art and practice of the learning organization. The thinking process starts at the bottom of the ladder, where we have observable external data that we use to filter and select the information we want to use. This is generally based on what we believe to be true. Next, we add our own cultural and personal meanings to the information we have, and we make assumptions. As we draw our conclusions, we update our beliefs about the world, and we take action based on those beliefs. So we all develop stories in our own minds about events and people very quickly, and we don't even realize we're doing it. These stories affect our communications and interactions with others. So let's break down the example I started with today. There was a decision made that, for whatever reason, Susan was not aware of. In the meeting, she felt left out of the decision, and before she had a chance to be rational, she ran up the ladder and felt discounted. In that vulnerable place, her beliefs were reinforced, and she was not included, and then she began to look for other data to support that. It's a reinforcing cycle. Have you ever done this? What's important to note is that our ladders are unconscious and implicit, meaning with no qualification or questioning. It's absolute to us. The ladder is invisible to us until we surface it to our conscious thinking, and remains untested until we make it transparent to others who help us test our data or information, the filters that we use on our data, and the meaning that we apply to it. When we make our thinking transparent to others, they're able to provide us with additional information and highlight other data that you may not have been aware of. Other people can also reveal the meanings that they apply to the data and explain their own assumptions and conclusions. This is how we get to better decisions, and we move to conscious and explicit thinking. Knowing Susan ran up the ladder of inference originally, let's consider how she might have interrupted her personal ladder of inference to avoid jumping to conclusions. During the meeting, it was mentioned that the project milestone would be pushed back 6 months. Susan asked the team when and how the decision was made, indicating that she was unaware of it. A few others indicated they didn't know that the information was changed either. The team leader was surprised to learn that some of the team knew and others didn't, which led him to determine the communication designed to update the entire team wasn't working. In the end, Susan learns that she wasn't the only person that didn't know, and a serious communication issue was corrected for the entire team. By understanding our own ladder of inference, we can become more aware of our own thinking and reasoning. We can ask questions to make our thinking and reasoning more visible to others. And we can check our assumptions when you inquire into other people's thinking and reasoning. Through all of this is where you will find that mutual understanding. I hope you found the information about the ladder of inference helpful in understanding how you think and the impact that it can have. By increasing your consciousness and awareness, you can be better equipped to build trust, stronger teams, reduce conflict, make better decisions, and solve the right problems. I thank you for your time today, and I'm going to turn it back over to John.
Thank you, Helen, for sharing your insights with us today. 1 week from today, we are hosting another leadership webinar on how emotional intelligence impacts situational leadership. Instructor Lisa Yaffe will share research by Daniel Goleman that demonstrates how effective leaders use multiple styles of leadership depending on the situation, and how emotional intelligence impacts leadership decisions. To register for this webinar, go to go.wisc.edu/EQ-webinar, which also appears there on your screen. The Ladder of Inference, Emotional Intelligence, and Situational Leadership are all tools that you can use to become a more inspiring and effective leader. If you're interested in further expanding your skill set, Leadership Beyond Management is an immersive, interactive 5-day program that will give you the tools to do so. Through that program, you'll learn to lead intentionally, discover your authentic leadership purpose, and participate in a 360-degree assessment that will highlight your leadership strengths and provide ideas for improvement. You'll also participate in a post-program coaching session to help you create an immediate impact on your career and your organization. For more information on Leadership Beyond Management, visit go.wisc.edu/lbm-webinar1. Thank you again for joining us today. A recording of this webinar and the slide deck will be sent out later this week. We hope to see you 1 week from today at our next webinar. Have a wonderful week.